Nothing more I like in this world than royalty-free music. Isn't that nice? Wow. Well, good evening. Well, it's afternoon. You're tuning into the Farmville Spotlight with me, Noah Massarge, and my special guest, John Golden of the Back Sydney Band. You know, don't forget, the Farmville Spotlight is your burst of local Farmville talent. From musicians to, I mean, all we had so far is musicians, but hopefully we'll get some masons, maybe some, you know, I like to interview a chef at one point, and I think that might be fun. But yes, thank you for tuning into the Farmville Spotlight. We're going to hold off on the phone calls for now, but we will open up the phone line a little bit into the show. But first, I'd like to introduce my guest for today, John Golden, or Jonathan Golden. How you doing, sir?
Good. Thank y'all for having me.
Of course.
It's fine, man. I'm happy to be here at WFLO. It's good to see y'all kind of getting a foot in the door here. And
of course.
I'm happy to come in. I've been trying to get with Noah for a while now to get on the
It's been a minute. Yeah, it's definitely been a minute. I interviewed your whole band before you. Well, not your whole band, but...
I think that week I was in Baltimore on a business trip. So
I gotcha.
I came back, I'm like, I missed it. I got to get one in. So
what kind of business are you talking about?
Fraternity business.
Oh, yes, of course. Well, John, let me... how about you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from?
Sure. Chesterfield, Virginia.
Okay, nice.
So not too far, about
very local.
45 minutes away. Lived a little bit in Cambridge, so about half an hour away, a little bit south of Blackstone. So did my time. Used to come here in Farmville as a kid and check out McAdoo's and Grief Front Furniture.
McAdoo's is a place you got to check out, I feel like. Look, I haven't been living here, that long, but has that Kramer statue always been there? At that location?
I believe so. It's a lot different now because I know so many people that work at McAdoo. So it definitely changes my perspective of it. But that's a staple, one of the staples of Farmville.
Of course. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a larger than life-size Kramer statue. Yeah, and he's missing fingers, which I find unusual. His fingers are missing.
I haven't noticed
on
that.
one hand.
Huh.
So it kind of leaves a lot to the imagination. How did he lose his fingers? What happened? Did they drop the statue at some point? Anyways, yes. Well, thank you for coming again. And, I appreciate you stopping by here at WFLO. You've been in the music scene for quite a bit, I would say. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I've been in the music scene for coming up on 10 years now. I've been in the Farmville music scene for roughly coming on 2 years. So I definitely know a lot of the local musicians, some really great artists, some up-and-coming artists I've had the pleasure of working with. So it's been a great experience, and I'm excited to see what comes in the next few months here right before graduation. And if I decide to stay and keep working with the club and everything, we'll be seeing what I can do here in the future and kind of expand my markets of where I'll be playing for and who I can play for.
Absolutely. And you said the club. You mean Press Club?
Yes, sir.
Nice. That would be very cool. Now, let me ask you this, John. We're going to bounce around. I'm going to ask you childhood memories, and then I'm going to ask you about something you did yesterday. I like that.
The show, deep here.
The show has no continuity. It's, I'm kind of bouncing back and forth. But I'd like to ask you, so how is it like you're going to college, Hampton-Sydney, to be, for anybody who's wondering.
Well, I'm the only one that goes to Longwood from the back.
Oh, Longwood.
Band, which is totally fine because I do so much time at Hampton-Sydney. A lot of people think I am a Sydney student.
Anytime I ask you where you've been, you're like, I was at Sydney. And I just assumed you were a Hampton-Sydney student.
No, and you're not the first person. You're all good. But
I apologize.
I'm the only one from Longwood, so I did get a little bit of
flack.
Did have a little bit of jokes being made about me doing that. But, Longwood's been awesome, and I do like a lot of the Sydney guys, and they have a really great atmosphere for game day for footballs, and it's a great opportunity for us to do some shows.
How does it feel to be a part of a band with members from a rival college?
It is weird. It caused a lot of problems for the first couple months.
Yeah, right?
I mean, it was once I kind of got in, and some of the guys, they recognize, a lot of the guys from Hampton-Sydney, they recognize me from Press Club, so that makes it a lot easier.
It does,
but there always is a stigma, it seems like, between both colleges, because we kind of fight over the same town. We fight over the same things.
A little bit, yeah.
But I think recently it's definitely gotten a lot better. We intermingle a lot more now. Press Club's a great spot for that. You meet some really good guys. Some of my closest friends are guys from Hampton-Sydney. So it's really cool to see that, and that's something that I'm appreciative of. And it's definitely made my life, my job a whole lot easier.
I can imagine.
Being, as friendly and open as they are. So
yeah. Do you guys ever change up locations? Like sometimes you practice at Sydney, sometimes in near Longwood, or do you just have one location for practice?
Yeah, so mostly we'll be practicing at Hampton-Sydney.
Okay.
Our drummer, Dr. Holt, his house is in the same cul-de-sac as Ben and Hayden and some of the other band members are. So that makes it a lot easier. Sometimes we've done practice at my house here in Farmville. Sometimes we'll play together in Chesterfield or Richmond and practice. But we use a lot of the open mic opportunities here in Farmville as our opportunity to try new stuff out, to try new songs.
Exactly. It's going to be a little raw, kind of experiment.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Some weeks when we can't get a full band practice together, we'll all go out to different open mics and we'll all play in little groups together. Just be like, hey, like I know we can't get a full practice in, but what's something we can do just to kind of keep playing and try some new stuff out? It never hurts. And sometimes we'll get awesome feedback from people. Sometimes we'll be like, hey, you should incorporate that song into your next show. And a lot of times we do that. So it's it definitely it's a cool experience. We always try to learn and get better from it.
That's great. You know, I have I don't think I'm too far off by saying a love affair with open mics. Like just the raw atmosphere.
Yeah.
There's truly something beautiful about an open mic setting. You have patrons of the bar who are there from morning till dusk. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, we have a few of those.
You have a couple of drunk people. You maybe have a couple making out somewhere. And then you also have like a couple of people watching, like sincerely just ready to receive as some sort of entertainment, some live performance.
Yeah, and it's been really cool to see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of the regulars that we have that are regulars at open mic consistently come out, and they've been bringing their friends and family, and we've definitely got a good thing going. I've done open mics in Ashland and Richmond.
That's great.
Down here in Farmville. So it's really cool to see. I mean, there's granted with open mics, you never know what you're going to get. There's such a broad range. I mean, sometimes
they're packed, and sometimes they're just kind of like a couple of stranglers. Yeah.
I mean, I will say though, when Oliver Anthony he performed here at Press Club for open mic, and that's kind of what set him up, and that's when we all kind of knew here in town, like, hey, this guy's going to be making it big, and this guy's going to make an impact, and that's exactly what happened. So, open mics is a great opportunity because you never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to come in and maybe be the next big hit, and that's kind of the luck of the draw, and that's why people have to. I mean, you'll never know unless you come out and play live for people, and that's what I love. It's a very open opportunity for people. We never turn anybody away. That's what I love. I think that definitely helps the music scene and the music community a lot. There's
something also really important, I think, about the instant feedback you get at an open mic. Because when you're performing, people are they're just jiving with the music and they're just having fun, but like. At an open mic, you really you almost have time, almost time slows down, and you can almost look at people's faces and kind of read the room from there and be like, are they grooving along to my music, or are they? I say grooving along. I don't play any instruments, so I have no idea. But I'm sure you could read the room a lot at an open mic.
And that's something when I play, I groove a lot. I'm always bebopping around, dancing around, and I always ask for the longest 1/4-inch cable I can get for my guitar so I can walk around and play. But what's cool about that too is the audience. I definitely take a lot of people. It depends who you ask. Some people really take into account what the audience thinks and what their reactions are. Some people just kind of do anything they can to not even look at them, to do their own thing, so they don't get in their head. And I kind of like a combination of both. I do like to see the reactions of people, definitely different demographics and age ranges, to see, hey, this hits a lot with this group of people, but maybe this older crowd doesn't like it as much. But I mean, I have two conversations. So when I get off stage and I'll talk to people at open mics, I'll talk to them for a little bit, and they'll be like, yeah, that's awesome, but they don't have much musical knowledge. So then I'll go talk to some other artists like CJ or Neil Townsend or whoever's coming out playing.
CJ always has the right criticism.
He does, and he's like, oh, well, you should do this major scale, or you should be playing this chord progression instead of this one. So it's definitely crazy to have the two completely different dynamics
people
in conversations we have after. But they're both equally productive, and they both equally help me out personally, but also music theory wise, getting better and get more confident. And I just love to be able to try out new stuff whenever I can, new genres, new songs. Like a lot of times, if I'm gonna be honest with you, I'll go into open mic, I'll hear a song on the radio and be like, oh, I like this, and I'll pull it up on my phone for a couple seconds and be like, okay, I can do that. And I'll get on stage, never practiced it before, and that's my time to practice.
But you can hear it by ear, like you read keys by your ear?
To an extent, yeah. I can, if I'm listening to it on the radio, I can do that, but I do like have my phone out just to make sure I don't want to mess up the words, make sure I got my chord progressions correct. But it's a gift and a curse that it kind of sometimes bites me in the rear sometimes when I try to do that, because I'll never practice it, never look at it before. I'm like, oh, I can do that.
Do you have a good example of that happening to you?
Off the top of my head,
preferably in a live setting. No, I'm kidding.
Probably my first couple open mics.
Interesting.
When I didn't start singing until roughly about 2 years ago, and I performed for 3 times at Press Club for open mics. Then I met CJ and eventually met Nash, and that's what kind of got me started with them.
Yeah.
And then month or two later, we were opening for Oliver Anthony at the show at Press Club, and that from there is what's really set me up for success musically.
Wow, yeah.
And that leads into the story of how the band got created and everything else. So it all snowballed. But this last year and a half has been it's been an awesome time for us as a band. It's been great for me personally with my music career and what I'm trying to do. I don't know if I wasn't here, I would not be having these opportunities, and I really appreciate that I got these opportunities. Which is such a great small town, but also some great local musicians that really want to work together.
There's a unique scene here for sure,
which is definitely something that I've been looking for, and I'm glad I found it here. And Richmond's so big, but this is a perfect opportunity. There's a lot of you might not realize it, but there are a lot of musicians here, whether they come out consistently or not.
I know that, and the only reason why I know that is I think back. Oh, by the way, I just mentioned, this. You are listening to the Farmville Spotlight. Just in case if you just tuned in right now, this is the Farmville Spotlight, and we are interviewing Jonathan Golden of Back Sydney Band. But I was going to say, I know there is a huge music scene in Farmville for the fact that before COVID, there was Uptown Cafe, which had a consistently large open mic, I would say, and a lot of people would sign up. It used to be a big event, and like people would come out and like just watch and listen, and just like
cool. And it's got a great atmosphere,
great atmosphere, great acoustics, like everything about that that venue was just like perfect, but. Ever since COVID, it's almost like I don't know where these musicians went, but it's like they went under rocks and
know where they went
they're
either.
Like hiding. It's like
it's very inconsistent. Some nights we'll have it open mics. I mean, we'll have some nights 10 to 12. I mean, the month and a half, 2 month period after Oliver Anthony performed, we had everybody coming out.
I'm sure those were big,
and they were great, and they're awesome. And then those people, some of them kind of fizzle out. Some of them will slowly make an appearance every couple months. Others, like me, I'm there every week. But
consistency.
Yeah,
that's key.
That's big. I know Ben, one of our members of Back Sydney Band, he tried to kind of bring back the Uptown Cafe open mic scene, and then he got busy working back in New Kent County and Richmond, so it was a lot for him to drive back and forth like that. But I hope one day to see them.
I tried reviving it a couple of times before. I did it twice before Ben, and then once after Ben. And I kind of do little jokes, which is not a good atmosphere for an open mic, unless if it's a comedy open mic. Then like people come to see that, but like. It's hard to make a variety kind of like clash between like poetry, music, and comedy. Like having like all those things in one. It's like disorienting almost because you listen to a song and it's nice. And then you have a guy come up, just starting telling random jokes, and the vibes are up and down, and it's just it's like confusing for the audience. It's almost like hard to pay attention to what's happening, and so that's why I am a big fan of like. Like having mics just for a specific genre, like whether it's poetry or music, comedy, whatever.
Yeah, just enough separation so people know what they're waiting for,
and they're not being like it's like almost like a roller coaster ride if you have all those different genres at play. It's very interesting. Well, John, I want to ask you. So, when did you really get into this, like music, playing music? Have you always had a passion for music?
I have. Growing up, I was always, I was surrounded by a lot more. I've always been called an old soul, so I was always surrounded by more adults than honestly kids my own age when I was a kid growing up, and grew up on a lot of different types of music. I mean, we're talking anything from the Grateful Dead and jam bands to reggae to bluegrass to classic rock, and so I had a very eclectic mix of music at such a young age. I served in my local church for a while when I was about 12 or 13 and met the music director there. His name's Michael Berkeley, and he still actually is the music director right now at Woodlake United Methodist. And I still go back when I'm going home and check it out. But he's really what kind of pushed me to get started in late middle school, early high school. And so working with him, I learned how to play drums, guitar, taught myself a little bit of piano. Now I'm currently trying to teach myself mandolin.
Oh, my
But it was
goodness.
really cool to see it at such a young age. I've never had stage fright, so I'm getting put on stage with these really awesome musicians performing in front of potentially 200 to 300 people every Sunday.
Yeah.
So that's been a great learning opportunity for me to be surrounded by such great musicians at such a young age, getting the exposure and the stage presence that I need. Sometimes Christmas, we'll play services for 400, 500, 600 people, upwards of 1,000 people spread out between a couple services a day. So that was awesome. And the connections I made from there was what I was like, if it's not sports, music is where I want to go.
Yeah.
Fast forward to high school, I went to a private Christian high school as well, Richmond Christian, which is down on Iron Bridge Road near Richmond.
Nice.
We had a class called the Praise Band class, which was myself as well as a bunch of other high school students that are really, really talented. And that was we were given a lot of freedom for that class. We performed in front of the whole school every Thursday for our chapel time, but we could do whatever we want. We would play country, we would play rock, we would play gospel, we could play metal. The freedom was ours. So that was awesome to just it's kind of like a garage band, but in the sense that there was some direction with it, but these were already established musicians, and that's why I said no matter where I went to college, and this is my third college here at Longwood, but I was like, no matter what I want to do, if I'm doing music, I want to be with already established musicians. That way we can hit the ground running. And that's exactly what's happened with Back City Band, and that's really what set us up for success in the long run. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to see just the amount of success and the broad range of an audience base we have just in this last year. We're not actually coming up on it. Today is, the 31st of October. We have not even been a band for a full year yet.
That is crazy. Wow.
And we're doing shows left and right, headlining festivals. So it's definitely been awesome how quickly this has happened. Yeah. And it goes into everyone knows their role. We all do our roles extremely well. And we've had a really consistent customer base, but also living in a two-college town makes that whole thing a lot easier to kind of get your feet out, start running, and you can find some success. And from there, we've networked and branched out, and we're playing in Ashland, we're playing in Richmond, Lynchburg. So that's
incredible that you haven't even been together for a full year, and that's already happening. That is actually the speed is going so fast.
Yeah, and that was what was really cool. Yeah. Being able to be with them, and I mean, we practiced, I believe, maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then we played our first show at the TI at Hampton Sydney last November, and from there it's just been going, and it's such a unique sound with all of us. It's a lot of 90s country, it's a lot of bluegrass. I bring a lot of background from jam band, so I've kind of a lot of the guys were against it for a little bit. We've slowly started moving to the jam type of almost like the Allman Brothers vibe at the end of the day. But I mean, Hayden with his fiddle and harmonica, that's really what separates us and helps us stand out a lot.
It really does have a distinct kind of sound listening to you guys. You know, it's not something you would hear on the radio, and I mean that in a good way. It's just unusual, and it's like that. Just like I need more. It's like you need more of it. I love a unusual sounding band. What's some of your favorites? Musicians, do you have anybody that you kind of look up to?
I like Billy Strings a lot.
Okay, Billy Strings. Yeah.
I'm going to name all my jam band people.
Sure.
Jerry Garcia is awesome. I love the older country, Randy Travis Tritt, Tracy Lawrence, all those older guys. I don't really listen to too much of modern country music now, but I do like a few. Cody Johnson's an awesome musician. He's definitely been around for a while. Who else is a good one? Morgan Wallen's always good. That's a safe
Morgan
bet
Wallen.
for everybody.
For sure.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of, and it's so cool having such a broad range of music and music knowledge that I do is I can really pull from different genres when I play. So the style that I play is really unique where I can play eighths, I can play 16ths, but I'm self-taught from my instruments as well as self-taught for singing. So sometimes that kind of gets me in trouble when I don't really do things the proper way, which can hurt me in the long run. So when I first started singing, I couldn't talk for 2-3 days after a show. Yeah. Just because I had to warm up my vocal cords. I wasn't sure I wasn't drinking tea. I didn't have my honey. I didn't know how to properly sing.
You got to have a spare bottle of honey around.
From your gut rather than singing straight from your throat. For sure. Then you wear out your vocal cords. And same with guitar. When people ask me all the time, can you give me drum lessons or can you help me learn guitar? And I was like, I would love to if I could, but the way that I've learned how to play is special to me. This is my way of how I do it, and the style that I play is really bluegrassy with that too. Really fast 18th for picking, but also it almost sounds like two guitars at once. I can play it and you might hear it in a couple songs we'll do later, but I'll be strumming and hitting on the downbeat, so the 1 and the 3, or I'll hit on the 2 and the 4, and it sounds like there's a drum beat along with my guitar at the same time.
A little almost getting that
which
strumming
definitely adds
rhythm.
a lot. And when we did when we formed the Back Sydney trio after the Back Sydney band, that's been what's really helped us out. Myself along with Ben and Hayden have a trio group that travels around. We live the most central to Richmond, so when we're for summer break or Christmas break, we'll go out to Chester and play, or we'll do shows that we've played at Mainline Brewery. We played at Southern Railway Tap House. We're going to do some stuff at River City Roll here in a little bit. So between that and just performing with very mature musicians, experienced musicians that we have around here, between whether it's Caleb Dillard, Cody Christian, myself, or it would be Oliver Anthony, it could be Huntley from The Voice, anyone like that. And we've had some great musicians come by, and just kind of picking little pieces from all of them. as well as when we're at Press Club. You know, we have different bands and DJs every week, about 3 days a week. And I make it a point every time there's a new band that comes in that I've never heard, I make it a point to meet them and to talk to them and say, hey, what's
network
something,
kind of a little bit.
Exactly. What's something that you would tell an up-and-coming musician? What's one thing that you've learned from this industry that I can take with me to help me out? And it's been really cool to kind of compile everyone's opinions and everyone's personal stories and to being like, okay, like this is what I can do to make myself better and make it better for everyone around me.
Now, let me ask you, and this question might tie into what you were kind of saying, but and it's kind of serious. I don't mean to throw you off or anything, but all good. How does one? Are you the lead of your band? Just curious. Kind of
lead. I would say I'm the entertainer for the band. Okay. I'm not the lead. Ike would be our lead vocalist.
Okay, cool.
I like to be the guy up front. I like to be the one kind of engaging
the showman, kind of bring the good vibes.
I do the social media and I help with the booking, and I would say I'm the front man. But I also play rhythm, and you know, growing up, I'm like I really want to play lead guitar, but rhythm is something that I like doing it. Yeah, I don't really want to be or don't need to be the guy out front having crazy guitar solos. One, because I can't play it. But that's the role that I have, and I love that role that I have, and I think I excel at it pretty well, and it matches and blends really well with everyone else. So if they're happy, I'm happy, and we're excited to see where it goes.
Do you struggle with like staying motivated in this space? And now you do have a network of like-minded musicians, so that I'm sure helps. But like, you know, day in, day out, like working, practicing, rehearsals, is it hard for you to stay motivated? And do you ever deal with like burnout, like musician burnout?
Yes and no. So with me personally, and it could be a more unique situation, but I'm very involved on campus with Longwood, as well as being involved in the town, as well as having the bands. So it's definitely time management's been a big thing. Yeah. And I was at a point here a couple months ago where the only practice I would get would be practicing with the guys when we get together maybe once or twice a week for a show. You know, it's really hard for me to sit down on a day-to-day basis and be able to play for an hour or two, which I would love to do. But with as involved as I am, it's been a little difficult to do that. Yeah. So that's one thing I really want to look at for the future and say, hey, like I'm actually serious about songwriting and writing accompaniments and being able to kind of make my own sound, my own unique sound. The only way to do that is to kind of make time, whether it's late at night, 2, 3 in the morning, whether it's early in the morning, whether it's at mid-afternoon. So that's something that I've had a burnout a couple times with music, and it's just not that I lost my passion or love for it. It's just like, man, I'm doing so many things. I'm so tired. I'm getting up so late, going to bed so late, getting up so early, doing 4 shows a week. You know, it kind of gets into a routine, and that's why every couple of weeks I kind of sit back for a few days and say, hey, I don't want to lose this passion. You know, I want to pursue this, and I know it's what I want to do, but let me just take a few days off to rest and kind of reset and hit it hard the next week. So we try to do that.
That's good. You know, so you did mention, do you do songwriting, like write your own original songs, or is that something you want to kind of get into and start doing?
That's something I'm slowly getting into.
So have you started then a little bit?
I have.
Okay.
I have.
And how's that going?
It's been good. The band doesn't really, not that they don't know that, but I'm not.
You keep it in the safe, right?
And that's partly because I want to make sure if I'm doing this, I want to do it well,
definitely
for my benefit as well. But also, I just want to make sure I have a unique sound. You know, everyone. I don't really listen, and in all honesty, I don't really listen to the radio too much because most of the songs on the radio, it's your simple 4/4. You know, it kind of it sounds a little repetitive at the end of the day. And I was like, what is something I can do that makes me stand out, that gives me a unique sound that I'm also proud to be able to produce? You know, I don't want to be just throwing out a whole album of 10, 15 songs, and I'm like, okay, hopefully one of them people will like. You know, I want to take time, and sometimes that's kind of been my downfall at certain points. I'm like, I want it to be so perfect all the time that it's not possible to be perfect. And so I think what a lot of people don't realize is when you listen to a song on the radio, a lot of the songs that are on the radio have more than one person writing the lyrics. They have a composition of maybe 3 to 4 or 5 to 6 people that are helping them. So that's why I'm at a point now where I have a general idea. This is my general chord progression. This is my accompaniment. Let me see what I can do, and then I can have other people come in and give their opinions and help kind of fill in the pieces for the rest of it till we get one song that it sounds enjoyable, it's catchy, it's got a good lick to it, it's got a good harmony, vocal progression. So that's something we're trying to work on right now.
Interesting. So take me through the moment you first started writing the first song, even though it's not like completed. It's just like, you know, you went home. and then you got a pen or a pencil and paper, and then started writing.
Oh, it drives me insane.
Did it flow out of you, or was it like you're just like, it's just like, what do I write? Like, I'm kind of curious about the creative process.
So I'm so lazy that I don't even write it down on paper. I just put it on. I'll write it in my notes app on my phone. But it drives me insane because I'll get a cool idea. I could be driving, be coming back from Northern Virginia, driving down, like, oh, this would be a great melody, or this would be a great verse or a great bridge, and then I forget it. Or or I'll start an idea and I'm like, okay, but I actually like this part of the song to go in this part of the song, and then I gotta so I need to I need to learn how to do this myself, but there's a way to focus and a way to get all your thoughts written down, but also be precise about it and be clear what you want. And me being self-taught with everything else, it's going to take me some time to get to that point where I'm confident enough and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what we're going for. Yeah. How can we turn it into something cool? And that's also with collaborating with the guys. And luckily the band, I mean, all six of us are great musicians, and we can definitely hold our own. And a few of them do songwriting as well. I know Ben has, Ike has, and Hayden has. They actually have things released on Apple Music and Spotify. So working with them, working with Caleb Dillard and Cody Christian a lot, and Huntley as well, it's definitely cool to see and seeing their process and seeing how I can adjust my style to being a more efficient process to songwriting.
Definitely. I totally get the frustration of forgetting something like that. Like it's so random. It comes to you. Like, you didn't even look for it, but, like, you just think of the perfect line. You're like, oh, that would be great in a song. And then it just kind of, like, disappears goes back into the ether. And do you know David Lynch, the filmmaker? He made, a Eraserhead, Mulholland Drive, Blue Velvet.
I know Blue Velvet.
Okay. Yeah. He's been making films for, like, since the early 70s, maybe late 60s. Anyways, he's been on record stating this many times, but he has a quote that's like, if you forget a good idea, it makes you want to commit suicide. And it's like so intense. That's like literally what he said. But it's kind of true in the sense that, it's just like, it's so good. You have like this amazing thought, and then the fact that it could just like disappear like that. It's just like a very interesting kind of.
And what also infuriates me is the fact that I'm also a business major, so I'm doing my entrepreneurship classes.
Sure.
I'm doing my business classes. I'm like, if you have a good idea like that and you lose it,
it's terrible.
That's money out
your
pocket.
Exactly.
That's something I try to take into account a lot. And anytime I can, I try to write whatever I have or just anything I can to either jog my memory, just make sure, hey, I got the general idea down. Let me kind of hit around it until I kind of find something that might not be exactly the original thought, but how can I pivot and do something that has the general sense of what I wanted to do in the first place?
Well, let me ask you this, John. So you did state before that you were kind of like the showman of the band. You bring the energy, you bring the good vibes, you do the crazy stuff. Do you have any good stories to tell us that are kind of examples of that kind of energy,
Well, so the running joke with the band is that I have a cutoff limit when we're doing shows, because a lot of these shows we're doing around college areas and college towns and in a lot of bars and a lot of breweries. So when I like to perform, I like to have fun. I like to loosen up when I perform. So we've learned the hard way pretty quickly that I'm not allowed to drink until the second set of the show.
Oh, man.
And that's not me getting too, like, I'm not getting absolutely obliterated, but the more, especially with beer, and I love my beer, but the thing with that is it dries your throat out so much.
It does dry, yeah.
Now, Grant and Ben said this too. He's like, I don't know how you do it. Your guitar playing gets better, but your voice sounds horrible. And I was like, I didn't really think about it, but it makes sense. I'm going back and listening to recordings. I'm like, wow, you're right. Like, crazy how that works, So I've been better about that now, and it's definitely worked out. But the second set comes, and actually a funny story. We played Theta Chi Hampton Sydney last weekend for homecoming, but we also played for them about 3 or 4 weeks ago prior to this. And my friend, she was watching our show, and it was the first set, and I couldn't resist. And I said, I'm like, does anyone have a beer or anything in the audience? Man. And a couple of people came up, and she came up, and she handed me like a little airplane shooter.
Oh, boy.
It was like Crown Peach.
Yeah.
And I could see Ben's face. It was like, no, in like slow motion. And I took that, and I'm like, all right, let's go. We're ready to roll. And that was our best energy show that we've ever done. And I was like, sometimes it works out. A lot of times it doesn't, but sometimes it works. And that was by far, we all agree that was our best sounding show, our best show energy-wise and audience participation-wise. And that's really what had people talking a lot. So from there, it's just been up and up. So we're excited.
That's awesome. I feel like that's a great, great example of you being a showman, because it almost breaks the expectation of the audience the audience is probably just like, okay, they're going to start playing any minute. But you're like, I need a drink.
I need something.
I need something.
Yeah. That's the other thing too.
And it's kind of
People ask me like, "Are you getting?" I'm like, I'm not getting hammered at shows. I'm the only one at Hampton City that has to actually drive back to Longwood. So
exactly.
Yeah, but it's still fun to do, and it's still just to be in that scene. You're in a college scene, you're in a college town.
Yeah.
You gotta fit in with the college kids.
That's right.
And luckily, I still am for another semester, so I gotta get it in now before I get in the real world. I'm like, okay, I can't do this all the time.
Yeah. True. Wow, that is very exciting, man. That's very, very good. Do you have any like favorite band stories of just like whether it's like rehearsal or just like maybe practicing something out and something funny happens? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of funny things that we say and do at practices. I think it's cool. I'll tell you a cool story. It's cool to see that we have a few members. They are members. They're guest performers that perform with us in the band. We've had a couple vocalists come in and help us out. We've had a couple musicians fill in when other guys are out. And it's really cool to see how we'll give them a run through, like, hey, this is our song, and this is the style we're going for. This is what we want. Can you do something with this? And it's really cool to see how quickly everyone meshes together, whether they've never looked at it before or they've heard it one time and then just play around and noodle till they find it.
Yeah.
And it's cool just to see how we can kind of dunk people around and just plot people wherever we want to go. And it always sounds good. It might be a different sound of what we've wanted to do, but no matter how much we try to play the same song twice, which as a jam band fan, I cannot stand to do the same song twice, there's always a little bit of variation. And that really shows kind of musicianship. And some people say that's you being – that can you be like undisciplined for music? And I was like, I look at it as I think that's really cool and being creative, that you can do the same general song, but there's always going to be a little different sound. And, and that's what I appreciate. I can't listen to bands live that do the same song exactly as the recording. It's just no emotion, know. And some people, they slightly change the key, slightly change the arrangement, slightly change the opening or the ending or the outro. So that's something that's really cool, and I think we've done that very well recently in definitely the last month and a half. And that's something that it's really cool to see. So it might not be a funny story, but just a really cool story that we see, like, almost every week when we have practices.
Yeah, that's nice. That's very nice. And I'll go ahead and open up the phone lines now. Feel free to call in if you have any questions at 434-394-0924. That is the number to call if you want to ask John a question about the Back Sydney Band, his performances, his favorite, potato or vegetable, favorite vegetable.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. We'll take it. Yes. Anyways, I don't know why I said potato. That's kind of wacky. But, John, I was going to ask you something. Oh, I had CJ on a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
I
saw that.
More than a couple of weeks ago. Funny guy. I really like CJ. I dig him. He's a interesting, funny guy. But I had a question I was going to ask him, and he was like, oh. Like, this was before the interview. Uh-oh. And I was like, what do you think about this? And he was like, and then he was winded from me asking it. And he was like, I don't know how to answer that one. Maybe let's just skip it for now, because it kind of encapsulates a lot. But
right, now I'm interested.
Okay.
Now I got. If CJ can't do it, I'll try my best. Okay.
How do you feel your music relates to your audience, the people that are listening? How does your music connect to them on a personal level? Is it more just to have a good time? What do you think?
I think it depends on a show where we are.
Sure.
Here in Farmville, now we have we're not too far from civilization. I mean, we have Lynchburg and Richmond within an hour drive, but we're also far enough in the country. You see your rolling hills, you see your pastures, you see your cows and stuff. So I think especially playing at Hampton Sydney around this area, a lot of these guys are just, they're from southern areas, and you're going to a private D3 college.
Absolutely,
but I think that's a lot of people. It kind of feels like you're back home,
Sure.
Growing up with your parents and your grandparents, and that's what we see a lot of middle-aged folks that come out to our shows, and whenever we play a parents' weekend or anything, they love it because this is what they grew up on, and they appreciate that we're kind of bringing it back in our own slight variations and tweaking of it. And we all grew up on this music as well.
Yeah.
Actually, to be honest, when I grew up, I hated country music for the longest time until I was about 17, 18.
Yeah.
And then from there, and that's what I did with my buddies. We'd hang out, listen to country music.
Classic country or more modern?
A little bit of both. I prefer the 90s, 80s and 90s
Interesting.
country.
Yeah.
A little bit of Willie Nelson for the 60s, but Doc Watson definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely playing music and then seeing music live. So anytime like I'll go to a festival or a show, I'll sit here and like put in my phone. I watch a lot of what they do. I watch how they act, how they interact, how they do nonverbal cues when they're performing together. And that's something I'm like, okay, what can I do? Can I take this? What can I make applicable to our band right now? What can I do to just make everything a little bit more smoother, a little bit more efficient, transition a little bit better?
I like that. Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, I think what it is it reminds them of home, growing up. Simple songs, fairly decent. Now we'll play Devil Went Down to Georgia or Dixieland Delight, and those are some relatively difficult songs to pull off. But that's what gets people excited. Out of nowhere, we'll play a slow song, then we'll kind of crescendo up to a really big set of outlaw country, and then kind of chill it out for a little bit, and then just hit them hard at late night with fast songs like Devil Went Down to Georgia and stuff.
When I had the Back Sydney band here, Hayden, Ben, and then I think Doc, is that his name?
Dr. Halt's there. We got to get Ike and Cade in here as well.
That would be great. I would love to have that
Eventually.
At some point. But I kind of asked him, I was like, if when you're performing and the crowd's just not feeling it for some reason, you're just like maybe not connecting, or just like it's just like the mood is off slightly. I was like, have you ever seen that happen and you were able to turn it around? And they told me, they were like, well, yeah, one time we were like playing and the crowd wasn't it's not like they weren't into it, but they were just kind of like just very casual about it, I guess. And they played the Devil Went Down to Georgia, and it just went like it just lit up. Yeah, like everybody was just having fun. It's like funny how like songs like that with such energy could like just rile up everybody.
Yeah, there's some songs we'll play the first chord or the first note of that song, and people already know, and I'm like, Lord, I can't even hear myself think, and I'm just, But I will say I ran into that situation actually last Saturday at homecoming. I couldn't hear much out of my in-ears. I couldn't hear my vocals. I couldn't hear my guitar. But, you got to keep the show has to go on.
Yeah.
And so the whole time I'm sitting here looking over. I'm looking at Hayden. I'm looking at Ben. And all I can see their mouth moving and their hands moving. And I'm like, okay, if I look at your hands and seeing how you play, then maybe I can get the tempo going. And then I can sing. But I have to look at what you're doing to be able to see what's going on. So I was kind of out of it last show. It sounded good, and a lot of people said that was our best show that they've seen us do live, which is really cool to hear. And what's cool is that the more we play, the more comfortable we get, the more we find that we sound better at.
Sure.
But it's really cool that every show, whether we think it's bad or not, people are like, man, that sounds great. Like, that's something we love hearing y'all. Like, that's the best show that I've heard y'all play before. And I'm like, but there's so many things we could have done better. And then that next week, I'm like, man, we have a great show, and we're constantly getting better with it. And so that's, being able to accept and hit adversity head on is something really big.
Yeah.
When you're in a group, our band's 6 people. So there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of melodies being played. If one person's off, everyone kind of gets off.
Yeah.
But the more you stick with it and the more you practice, and then it just comes more fluent and frequent, and it works out. And so now we're at a point now where us being a 6-piece with a fiddle as a lead melody, that's what stands us out. So that's what people want to see, and that's been awesome to be a part of.
That's really cool. Now, John, do you have any warm up routines that you do before a show? I saw you out here in the main studio, and you were kind of just like strumming your guitar. But like, do you have any anything you do that help you get into the moment and just like stay in that mindset of just being like it's performance time?
Honestly, not really.
Okay, interesting.
I'll listen to a little bit of music, and I never listen to the songs I'm actually playing.
Yeah.
Because that will just because especially when we do songs that are different keys, but the same song, different key, or same song, maybe a little faster or slower, that messes me up. So I'll listen to music that's not what we're playing that day. For some reason, and I didn't really realize this till you asked, but I always go to Cookout before I go to a show. No matter what it is, I always go get my quesadilla tray.
Well, that's like a routine then.
And my fries and my nuggets.
Yeah.
And one of my buddies asked me, he was like, I've never seen anybody eat Cookout sober. And I'm like, well, I'm the one that goes every time we have a show in the mid-afternoon, late at night, early in the morning. So that's mostly what I do. It's nothing. If I took too much time to like chill out, I think it would get in my head too much. So I just I love talking to people before the show.
Yeah.
That's my thing. Setting everything up on stage, being able to talk to the people in the audience, like, hey, like, how you doing? Oh, can you play this song? And I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Most of the time the answer is no, but I just say maybe so let them have their moment. But yeah, not too much. I don't really think about it too much.
But keeping your body going, kind of helping set up that, I'm sure it can like help your mind just kind of relax.
The biggest thing is I love being on stage. So I'm at the point I'm like, okay, show starts, like I just want to get on stage and start playing right now.
Absolutely.
Like, that's the big thing, because you really captivate and draw the audience in within your first First set, definitely. But your first 5 or 6 songs is what they're going to judge you on, whether that's a fair judgment or not. And a lot of the times our second set is a whole lot faster than our first set is. Mm-hmm. And we have some really good songs in the first set. But the last about 40 minutes of our second set is what really gets people going. And that's where all the energy's at.
Sure.
So it's really cool to see us kind of draw people in. I'm like, you like that? Well, wait till you hear what we have 30 minutes down the line from now.
Yeah.
So and it gets people like constantly, they're excited for it. And it's
ready for the next song. They want to, yeah.
And that's something that we've done and Ben's done a really good job about getting those set lists made like that.
Very cool.
And I came from a background of being a wedding DJ, so and as well as a normal DJ. So I know kind of like you kind of ease them in, take them out, ease them in, and it's worked out. So that whatever algorithm we're using or whatever, and we'll talk about it as a band. We'll be like, hey, where do you want this song? Okay, well, what's in between it? Okay, well, let's move this one 4 songs down, or let's move this one to end the first set on, and we can hit it hard in the second. So it's definitely cool to see that happen in real time, and cool to see how we're not really doing too much, but just it's crazy how small changes like that really make an impact, and people want to stick around because of that.
Definitely. Well, John, you did bring your guitar today. I'm looking right at it. It's on the floor.
It's actually Hayden's guitar.
Hayden's guitar. Right?
6 guitars at the house and a mandolin, but my main one I play with is in the repair shop right now. So Hayden's
goodness. What happened to it?
I got a problem with my bridge saddle on the bottom of Takamine, so I got to get that sanded down and get a custom one made again. So, but always want to upgrade to a Martin or a Taylor. So we got Hayden's little Martin here today. I'm going to be playing a few songs with.
All right, what songs you got for us what's on the agenda for today?
I'm going to do an old Jimmy Buffett song that he covered, and then I got a Grateful Dead song. As a Grateful Dead fan I am, Phil Lesh passed away, their original bass player, last week. So going to do one song for him and see what we can go from there. So
all right, sounds
good. Nice little chill acoustic show.
Well, you set up. Take your time setting up and getting ready for that. I'd like to say again, this is the Back Sydney Band, or one of the members of the Back Sydney Band here on WFLO AM 870. You're listening to the Farmville Spotlight. We are streaming online at WFLO.net, broadcasting live from the Francis E. Wood studio in downtown Farmville. John is getting set up right now, and I believe he's going to sit down and play, which will be interesting.
I rarely do that.
You rarely do that, but I'm very excited to hear about it. All right.
Let's see how this sounds. Let's see what we got here.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. That sounds really good.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds good, man.
Get a little swig of water here. We'll start going. The calm before the storm, as tonight is Halloween. So this is what little bit of sanity I have left in my day. First off, we'll start off. We'll do a little bit of a Broke Down Palace by the Grateful Dead here.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
See how this one sounds here.
All right.
Gonna leave this broke down palace on my hands and my knees. I will roll, make myself a bed by the waterside. In my time, I will roll. In a bed by the waterside, I will lay my head, listen to the river sing sweet songs, rock my soul. River, take me, sing me sweet and sleepy. Sing me sweet and sleepy all the way back home. It's a foregone lullaby so many years ago. Mama, mama, many worlds I've come since I first left home. Going home by the waterside, I will rest my bones. Listen to the river sing a sweet song, ride my soul. Play a weeping willow on the bank's green edge. It will grow. Sing a lullaby beside the water. But lovers come and go, the rivers roll. Fare you well. Well, I love you more than words can tell. Listen to the river sing sweet songs to rock my soul.
That was really good, John. That was really, really good. That was Jimmy Buffett?
That was the old Grateful Dead song.
Oh, Grateful Dead. I was going to say. I was like, that doesn't sound like Jimmy Buffett. I'm bad with
this,
when it comes to...
This next Jimmy Buffett song.
Gotcha.
Called Spider John, and it's a lot different than what you normally think of Jimmy Buffett. This is
Sure.
one of his old songs from his, I think, 74 album.
Are you a Deadhead at all? Do you like the Grateful Dead?
I don't look it, but I am.
Okay. Definitely don't look it, but...
I've seen Dead and Company multiple times.
Wow.
Love Goose, Billy Strings, Mo. There's a lot of bands, a lot of good jam bands out there. Twiddle was really good. So
Very
see
good.
what I can do now. Try this one without the headphones, see how that goes.
I'll mention this, too. If you want to call in, we can hold your call until John's done jamming out here on Flow. And, love to take some questions from the audience. If not, no worries. But, John, whenever you're ready.
Sure. This one's called Spider John.
Spider John is my name, friend. In between freights, and I sure would be obliged if you shared company. I know this may sound strange to you, but if you wait till the song is sung and the story is told, you might come to understand. Why I'm old and bent, the devil's spent, running out of time. When long ago hell roaring flush in my head, and I was a supermarket fool. I was roll bank stool pigeon, robbing my hometown. Thought I lost my blues. Yes, I thought I paid my dues. Thought I found a life to suit my style. Here sit old Spider John, the right man, lone, tall, handsome. Yes, old Spider John with the loaded head, taking ransom. gave me diamond limb. She was the sweetest thing, I declare. That summer breeze, heaven blowing my way. Really, she had no idea of my illustrious occupation. And she thought I was a sin, not a sinner, gone astray. She see that word got round, little left town, never saw her again. Tossing and turning, causing my heart to grieve. And I was a supermarket fool, was roll your bank stool pigeon, robbing my hometown. Thought I'd lost my blues, yes I thought I paid my dues. Thought I found a life suit my style. Here I sit, old Spider John, the rob man, lone, tall, and handsome. Yes, old Spider John with loaded head, taking ransom. That's all my story. It's been these 30 years since I took to the road to find my presence to one. And if you see my Lily, won't you give her my regards? Tell him old Spider got tangled in the black web that he spun. You can tell him old Spider got tangled in the black web that he spun.
Very smooth, John. Very smooth.
That is a great one. That's an old one, but it's got. I love songs that have a good story.
It really, yeah, exactly. Who knew? That was Jimmy Buffett.
Yes, sir.
Unreal. I gotta hear some more Jimmy Buffett. I just
some good originals.
Yeah. I did not know.
Little parrot head for you.
Exactly. How long did it take you to practice those two?
I've played not too long, maybe 15, 20 minutes, but I haven't played those two songs. I haven't played in roughly about 2 months now.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, I'll just come over here. Like, I think I can still relatively do them.
Yeah.
We did Broke Down Palace actually, or we tried to do Broke Down Palace last night, open mic, but my guitar was not working, so I was like, you know what, I canned it last night, I got to make it up today. So.
Yeah, true. Well, at least you didn't forget the lyrics of a song they were performing. No,
Yeah.
That's a little callback to Nathan, Ben's brother.
I tell you what, man, Nathan
literally could be a lead in a band.
Nathan and Russell both have really, really good opportunities, and I think if they stick with it, they're gonna be really good. That whole family is very musical, so it's really cool to see. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, you've only been singing for a couple months. And I'm like, good Lord, I can't hit that
I stopped
note.
by one time and he was like, man, I just picked up the guitar and started playing, and then like I heard him like last night, and it literally sounded very like close to being polished, if not like, I mean, like that was a very, very good performance.
Oh yeah, he's great, and I'm really excited. It's really been cool to watch like in real time. They're inspired by what we're doing, and they're wanting to take it and do their own thing. And
that's really cool.
Super cool, and we're all very supportive and love having them out.
That's awesome. Hey, John, we do have a call on hold if you want to take this. So, caller, you are on the air now. And
hey, good afternoon.
How are you doing, sir?
Pretty good.
Very nice. I'm sorry.
Oh, by the way, you said you don't know much about Jimmy Buffett. Danny Husky is a big fan of Jimmy Buffett.
He is. I do know that, yeah. That's our salesman over here, Danny Husky. Big Buffett head, yeah.
Old parrot head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a question for our guest caller?
Yeah. So you said earlier that you always ask for a long chord when you play at an open mic.
Sure.
So I was wondering, is there such thing as a Bluetooth electric guitar?
Yes, there is actually a lot of instruments you can Bluetooth, and it's with the DI box. So our fiddle player Hayden, he actually has his because he walks around a whole bunch. And so we give him a little Bluetooth thing. You kind of just clip it to your back of your guitar, and you can wear like a little headset on your pocket or in your pocket. And that way you have, I mean, some of those ranges is about maybe 100, 200 feet. So you can really walk around and move. And those pair Bluetooth with your PA speaker system and your mixer that you're using. So that's what we're kind of starting to do. Unfortunately, like most things, they cost a lot of money to grab, especially for 6 of us.
Yeah.
So we're slowly kind of saving up financially to be able to purchase those and have everyone.
Well, I thought there would be such a thing because I know that back in the 70s, Elvin Bishop apparently had one, or something like that. He'd walk around and play guitar.
Yeah. And that's something, I mean, whenever you're seeing a live performance now, 9 times out of 10, they will have Bluetooth with it. Just so, I mean, having the cords is one less thing to deal with. It makes the stage look a lot cleaner and gets set up and tear down a lot easier for everybody. So eventually down the line, we'll be incorporating those in, but they make a world of difference. I'd highly recommend them to everybody.
And I also know the microphones are cordless now, too, in some places.
Yes, and I use Sennheiser. That's my go-to for everything, and it sounds crystal clear. It's really, really nice.
Oh, I bet.
Very nice. Well, was there any? Was there something else you wanted to ask John Golden from Back City Band?
I don't think so.
Well, I appreciate you calling, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man.
But I heard that he's been performing in Hanover a couple times.
Yes. Yeah, I did Hanover Smokehouse a few times. We've been up in Ashland that way, so we're always trying to play more of the area. I think Christmas break's coming up for us here in college, so I'd say roughly December through January we'll have a lot of free time, and definitely want to start working on getting some gigs up there that way, kind of just broaden our customer base out.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
If I do, I'll definitely, if you see my name around, let everybody know. We're going to do our best to be up in Mechanicsville here soon.
I'll do that for sure.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for calling in, caller. We do have to get running now. It's 5 o'clock. Look at the time.
Yeah.
Man.
Workday's done.
Well, appreciate it. That's right. We're packing up. We're getting out of here now. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for your call. We appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, good show as always.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Bye. All right, that was this is a regular caller of ours. Don't know his name, but yeah, fun guy. Like him a lot. You know, real quick, John, do you have any shows coming up that you want to plug real fast?
Yes, we have the Tiger Inn at Hampton Sydney coming up November 13th, I believe. It's a Wednesday night, but it's going to be a good show. It's a on-campus kind of pub that we have that they have at Hampton Sydney. Along with that, we all have social media. The band's Instagram is at the Back Sydney Band. So through there in the Instagram bio, you'll see all of our individual pages if you want to check us out individually.
Yeah.
We have a good amount of shows coming up that are still in the works. We're trying to just finalize everyone's availability.
Sure.
We have some good acoustic shows as well, so we're going to plug those on the Instagram page too. So pretty much if anyone's got anything going on, solo, small group, or full band, we'll be putting it out there. So feel free to definitely check us out. We'd love to get more supporters, and we'd love for y'all to kind of see what we're doing a day to day, and we're excited for what's going to be coming in the next couple months and down the pipe.
That's great. Well, John, thank you so much for coming out again. This has been the Farmville Spotlight.